After Germany lost World War I, the Allies imposed the Treaty of Versailles on the country. Under the treaty, Germany was forced to pay massive amounts of money every year as war reparations. Trying to keep up with those payments, Germany's economy began to collapse. In an attempt to fix the crisis, the government started printing excessive amounts of money, but that only made the situation far worse. Between 1920 and 1923, Germany's currency collapsed at a terrifying rate. In January 1923, $1 was worth around 18,000 marks. But by November, it had skyrocketed to 4.2 trillion marks. Food prices rose by the hour, and many workers were paid twice a day because their money would lose most of its value before evening. Countless people lost their life savings, and even buying a loaf of bread became a struggle. Germany was slowly trying to recover from this devastating crisis, but the Great Depression of 1929 hit the country once again. Banks began shutting down, companies went bankrupt, and unemployment rose into the millions. People were selling furniture just to buy food, while riots and protests spread through the streets. In the end, Germany's Weimar government struggled to handle the growing crisis. At that exact moment, in 1933, Adolf Hitler rose to power. Hitler promised the German people that he would restore the nation's lost pride, rebuild the economy, and make Germany militarily strong again. But there was one major problem. The Treaty of Versailles strictly limited Germany's military, banning the country from building a large army, warplanes, tanks, and submarines. Even so, Hitler secretly planned to turn Germany back into a military power. But doing that required massive amounts of money, and at the time, Germany's economy was still on the brink of collapse. That's when economist Hjalmar Schacht played a key role. He had previously helped stabilize Germany's economy during the hyperinflation crisis of 1923, and later Hitler appointed him as head of the Reichsbank and Minister of Economics. Schacht's job was to secretly fund Germany's rearmament, but in a way that foreign powers wouldn't notice and without triggering another devastating wave of hyperinflation at home. For this purpose, in 1934, a fake company called MEFO was created. On paper, it appeared to be a research organization, but in reality, it was used to secretly finance Germany's rearmament and hide military spending. The company had no real offices, only a bank account and a set of documents. Instead of paying arms manufacturers directly, the German government issued MEFO bills, a form of promissory note backed by the state. Companies trusted these guarantees, so they took the bills to private banks and received real cash. The banks then submitted the bills to the central bank to get reimbursed, effectively keeping the whole system running. The key point was that no new paper money was actually being printed. The central bank simply increased numbers in its accounting books. This allowed Germany to secretly move huge amounts of money and fund rearmament without attracting attention from foreign powers. Using this system, within just a few years, Germany built a massive army, along with tanks, fighter aircraft, and submarines. By 1938, they had effectively broken most of the Versailles restrictions and had become one of the most powerful military forces in Europe. But the entire system was built on a weak foundation. The MEFO bills were essentially debt with a 5-year maturity, meaning that by 1939, Germany would have to repay a huge amount of money against them. The problem was, Germany simply didn't have the funds to cover it in reality. Another major problem was foreign currency. Germany was importing large amounts of raw materials like oil, iron, and rubber for its war preparations, but it wasn't exporting enough to balance the trade. As a result, the country's foreign reserves started to decline rapidly. At this point, Hitler faced two options: either print massive amounts of money and risk another 1923-style hyperinflation, or start a war to seize new resources. Hitler chose the second option. In 1938, Germany annexed Austria, taking control of its gold reserves, industries, and foreign currency. Then they seized the Sudetenland from Czechoslovakia, a region with advanced military industry, and later moved to take full control of Czechoslovakia. Then Germany invaded Poland, a country rich in farmland, minerals, and labor. By this point, the Nazi economy had become heavily dependent on conquering other nations and exploiting their resources. Essentially, each war was being funded by the wealth taken from the previous one. Hitler ran a scheme known as the Volkswagen program. Ordinary workers were told that if they saved money regularly, they would receive an affordable car. Millions of people paid in, but due to the war, almost no one ever got the car. The funds were instead diverted into military spending. The Nazis also confiscated Jewish property, businesses, gold, and bank accounts. In law-occupied countries, local populations were often forced into labor and used in the war industry under coercion. But this entire system only worked as long as Germany could keep conquering new territories. After the major defeat at the Battle of Stalingrad in 1943, the collapse began. Germany could no longer seize new resources, while the cost of the war kept rising. As a result, the Nazi economy gradually fell apart, eventually leading to the downfall of Hitler and his regime.